Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to the Thursday One Call. So we've got a very special guest tonight. We've got a lovely lady called Vicky Owens, and this is especially a very, very special guest because Vicky is our first guest on the call of 2024. So that's really exciting. Also, Vicky's done something, I'll be completely honest, or is doing something that I've never heard of. So when Vicky messaged me saying I'm doing this fan dance, I was like, no idea what it is. Quickly punched it in Google, and I saw that it had SAS in it. I was like, anything with SAS in it is going to be tough. So I was like, absolutely, we'll have you on the call, but love to hear more about it. So on that note, welcome to the call, Vicky.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you can all hear me and see me all right. Nice to be here.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Vicky, let's start with tell us a little bit about you. Where you based in the UK?
Yeah, so I'm based in Bedfordshire, down the south, as it were, for those of you that are not in the area. So about an hour north of London.
Awesome. Okay. And how long have you had type 1 diabetes?
Gosh, I'm 46 now, so about 44 years. I'm an
Wow.
old dab hand at it.
So if my maths is correct, you was two when you got diagnosed, then, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, back
Right,
in
okay.
back in the 79, so really am
Wow.
show me age now.
Wow. Okay. So you've wow. Okay. So I assume when you was diagnosed, it was it was urine, was it back then, or was it even at that stage then?
Yeah, we had the ketone test strips. We had the horrible big glass syringes, which I used to call them the horse syringes because they were huge back in the day.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it was called, but it was the big, like the lancet for the fingerprint. You basically pulled it back and prayed for England, really, because it was horrendous. One injection a day. God, that's going
Wow.
back. Yeah.
So, oh wow, I mean, so even in my short lifetime of living with diabetes, like that, the technology has improved massively. So I can
Yeah.
only imagine from like your perspective, you've really seen, a massive step up in I guess your quality of life.
Yeah, completely. I mean, thinking back to, what I can remember when I was a kid, I mean, nowadays, I use the Libre system. So, I mean, 40 odd years of hammering your fingers with finger pricks, they've been pretty much damaged. But moving on to that has been awesome. We've got the insulin pumps now. So yeah, it's a totally different system. And I did try an insulin pump, but I'm back on injections now. So I've had a go at a few things, but it's what works for you, isn't it? We're all different, right?
100%, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. Okay, so you've said you tried a pump. What's your current regime at the minute? Just injections, is it, I assume?
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
injections. I'm on the Levemir for the background insulin, and then the Fiasp for the quick acting. I used the Omnipods back in, oh gosh, 2018, because I was doing the London Marathon then,
Right.
and that actually worked really well. But all I found was I was getting a lot of hypos, and that might just be me, but I just found it a bit tricky. So partly because of that, Andrew, then partly with the Bergen I have to carry for the event. Every time I put it on, it was knocking it off and it was just getting in the way. So I went back to injections.
No, fair
But I'm,
enough.
I'm going to try it again. I'm going to give it another go.
Yeah, to be honest, I think like you said there at the start, it's what works for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
some people love pumps and some people don't. And I know for me personally, I only really sort of a pump really only interested me in the last few years, to be honest. Up until that point,
Yeah,
I didn't really want anything attached to me, so I wanted to
yeah,
be that free spirit almost as I think definitely for me as I got older, I sort of the pump started to interest me a little bit more.
yeah,
But yeah, whatever works for you, I guess, isn't it?
definitely.
Okay, so let's what is this? Tell us what this fan dance is, because hopefully I'm not the only one who doesn't know what it is. But yeah, tell us what it is, what it
Yeah.
involves, and why you're doing it.
So basically, the fan dance, they call it the fan dance because you effectively go up and down the penny fan, which is one of the highest points in the Brecon Beacons, twice. It's what they use for the SAS selection route. I think in your first week, they take you out up there to sort of test your physical skills, but also mental.
Mhm.
It's about 15, 16 miles, the full distance. And when you get up to the top of the Fan, you come down what's called Jacob's Ladder. Some of you might have heard of this. There is also one in the Peak District. I know because I've been up there as well. And that's quite daunting because you kind of look down and it's just a big drop down to the bottom. And it's a mental challenge, endurance, lots of heart rate zones. I think you hit it all: high intensity, slow, steady state. So for us diabetics, it's a bit of a challenge because there's a whole range of stuff going on over that sort of 16 miles.
I can imagine. So how does someone find this sort of challenge, and why does it, well, I guess, why does it interest you?
So for me, I tell you the story. I read the Andy McNabb Bravo 20 book a few years ago, and he talks about that as part of his training. And I thought, cool, one day I'll go and have a look. Then I discovered that it is open to the public now. You can do it as an event. Some people do it what they call clean fatigue, which is effectively no weight, just your food and water you need for the day. I've chosen to do it what they call load bearing, which is where you carry the weight in the Bergen. And it partly two things really. It's something I've wanted to have a go at. I think, being a diabetic, it shouldn't hold you back. So it's very much one of those, well, if you say I'm diabetic, don't say I can't do it. And yeah, I enjoy running. I've done a few sort of ultra runs and endurance runs, but I thought let's add a bit of weight to it and see what happens. So here we are. Not sure I've done the right thing, but anyway.
Amazing. Okay. So just your background. So you said you've done ultra marathons, right?
So I did a Tough Mudder Ultra a
Okay.
couple of years ago. In fact, actually during lockdown. So instead of going to one of the actual events, I did it partly at home using various bits of equipment in the garage, and then I'd go out and do my 4 mile run, then come back and then do something else, then go and do the 4 mile run. So probably not a true ultra in the sense of not actually out continuously running for the whole thing, but it was still 30 odd miles at the
Wow.
end of it in the time. And I think we started at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then it went on till 6 a.m. in the evening. The idea is you do as much as you can in that time period, and there's challenges and physical and all sorts to do. So yeah, not a full ultra in the sense of running for the entire distance, but there was a few other things thrown in there. So
Anything with 3-0 and then a run,
yeah.
my books is definitely pretty epic. So no, okay. And what's your training sort of, what does what is your training, what does it look like for this event? Like, what have you been doing?
Yeah, so it really at the start was more about the endurance and the distance. So we spent a lot of time doing the steady state, the longer runs, building up the stamina, building up the strength. So there was, some weightlifting in there as well. And then the last sort of 6 months has been a combination of going to various locations where you've got that sort of mountain terrain. So Bedfordshire is pretty flat. There's not really any mountains where I live. So I go up to Edale twice a month to do some training up there. And then Brecon once a month to kind of get that sensation and experience in. And lots of heart rate zone training. We're doing lots of like zone 4 training to
Quite
get that
intense, isn't
feeling
it?
of,
Yeah.
it feels horrible. It's not pleasant, I have to say. I'll be quite glad when this is all finished.
And this might be a stupid question, so sorry if it is, but do you have to sort of, there's no out, is it like when you get to the top, I assume there's some sort of altitude there, is there?
Yeah, I think it's like oh gosh, I'm not sure the exact amount. I want to say 400 feet or something. It's not like Everest or anything like
Yeah,
that, but there is, there's basically from the start you go straight up what's called Corndu. It's like a track that takes you to the top, so you're constantly ascending the whole way. So your first hour is basically high intensity.
yeah.
So I have been finding the blood sugars are spiking at that point because you just, you're hammering the body and the glycogen's being pumped out the liver and it's all going ballistic. Then you come down, so then it's quite a sharp ascent. So you need to get the speed up. But when you're carrying the weight on your back, it's a bit tricky to kind of balance. Then you've got probably a good steady state for about 4 miles out to halfway. And then you come back and basically do it again in reverse. So there's
Right.
ascent and descent. It's all mixed in.
Okay.
And I think for the diabetes, what I found is, yes, it's a bit unpleasant at the start because obviously the high blood sugar. And I've tried to curtail that, but then you end up going really low further on. So it's kind of, you just have to trust your body that it will come down. By the time I get to halfway, I'm usually well back in range, around between 7 and 8, which is great.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, fuel wise, I've been using the gels because you've got some electrolytes in there as well, and they seem to work. And plus, when you're running and you're breathing heavy, I find it easier to take something liquid rather than trying to eat solid food.
Yeah.
Although I do have a Mars bar halfway. That's my treat.
That's your treat. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
so you look forward to the Mars bar.
Yeah. I usually end up choking on it, but I try and enjoy it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And in terms of, well, you sort of touched on it there, but
Yeah.
have you got to do anything sort of special with your diabetes? Like, is there anything sort of you got to do special, or not really? Just sort of just crack on.
I mean, I've tried a few different ways of doing things. For me, what I found, this is just personally for me, it doesn't work for everyone, but I have reduced the basal insulin in the morning, by 3 units actually.
Right.
And then the morning injection, because obviously you need to have a fairly decent carby breakfast. So I tend to have oats before, about an hour before. I again reduce the insulin. I usually pretty much halve it at that point. So yes, you get a spike, but I've tried doing it where I've had a bit more insulin and I've just crashed and burned, before I get to halfway and really, really plummeted quite low. So that's working for me.
Yeah.
And then I find certainly that evening, even potentially the next day, I need to watch the insulin doses and reduce it a little bit, because you obviously you've taken all your carb stores out of your body. Your muscles are absolutely shot at that point. So it took me a while to realize that, but even the next day you need to just be careful, because you can drop unplanned.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely be a bit more sensitive for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I say it sounds amazing. And what's the sort of the time you're sort of aiming for? Like, what's the duration of the event?
So there's a halfway cutoff of 3 hours,
Okay.
which, for 8 miles, 7 or 8 miles, you think that's not too bad. But with the steep ascent at the start, you tend to lose quite a bit of time. That's a good hour to an hour and a half to get up to the top. So in the ideal world, I'd like to do the whole thing have a 5 at the front, 5 hours something. So far, the quickest I've done it was 4 hours 47, but that was with very little weight. I think when you add the weight to it, obviously you're going to slow down. So if I can get in the 5 hour something, even if it's 5 hours 59, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
So have you done this? Have you done it before then? Because you said have you done this dry? You've done a dry run, yeah?
Yes, I've done quite a bit of training up there, and then I did actually try it back in 2022 in the summer, but had not trained right for it at all, Andrew. I treated it like a kind of a typical road race, and it's not. And then I remember getting to the start line with the weight on my back, and I just thought, "Oh God, what have I done?" And it was just awful. It was horrendous. That's when I really did hit the wall. I've never experienced a feeling like that. So I've gone away. I've learned. I've come back, and now it's time to get over that finish line this time.
I like that. I really like that. It's that's a real sort of. I think that's a real sort of type 1 character, that like not being beaten, which is amazing, because it's type 1 is just, it's like that, isn't it? It's like that. I will not be beaten by breakfast. I'm not going to be beaten by it.
Every day is a roller coaster, right? And I think we are, without swearing too much, we're resilient buggers, because honestly, I think you have to be. Every day is a challenge. You can have the same food and do the same thing, and your body will do something completely out of whack. So I do think the mental resilience type 1 diabetes gives you, I probably wouldn't take on a challenge like this if I was a normal. Well, I say normal, we're all normal, but you know what I mean? If I wasn't a diabetic, let's say, I probably wouldn't have done it. So I think it's that mental resilience that makes you say, do you know what? I'm going to take something like this on and just show everyone that just because you're diabetic doesn't stop you from doing something.
Yeah, that's it. I think we were saying on a call, it might have been last week, but I think we were saying it's something very similar there about I think a lot of us, I know I definitely wouldn't be as fit and as healthy as I was if I weren't type 1. And it's almost sort of funny in a way, because it really makes you focus when we're not meant to be as, healthy. Actually, we're all pretty focused on what we're eating, when we're eating, when we're exercising, and all this. So it really does give you that extra focus, for me anyway. And I think it does for a lot of us.
Definitely. And I think we know our bodies so much more than, again, your average person will. We
Mm.
have to know how different things, affect us, how different foods affect us, different eating at different times of the day. If you inject before a sport or during or after, and all those things, and you just wouldn't think about it normally. You would just go out and go for your run and not even consider it. So I think it does give you a different way of looking at things for sure.
Oh, definitely. 100%. And what does this actual event look like? Is it like is there loads of people doing it? Is it just you, or what is it?
So there's actually three different companies that put this on, and they've
Right.
already had two events have been and gone. The middle one is the most popular. It's called TSFE. That's the one that most people, it's quite popular and it's quite supported. It had like 200 competitors at the
Oh, wow.
start line. The one I'm doing this weekend, I purposely chose it because there's not as many of us. There's probably about 40 or 50,
Okay.
and it just means we can probably pace ourselves a bit better. I found when I did the summer one, there was so many people, it was like a herd of sheep at the start, and you couldn't
Mm.
move, you couldn't get out the way. So it's there'll still be the general public. They can't shut the whole mountain down, so you'll have the average people walking up and down as we're going past. So you do get some funny stares sometimes, but yeah, it's a great location, and if the weather is good, I mean, the views are phenomenal when you get to the top. But most of the time I've been, it's like that mist in front of you, and you can't see 2 yards in front of you. So
Well, amazing. It sounds really really cool, to be fair. And we were saying just before the call, we think you're going to be the first type one, so you're going to claim that anyway.
I'm going to claim it. There might have been someone that's done it. I'm not sure, but I'm not aware. Certainly recently, I don't know anybody that's done it, because I kind of lurk in the background and see if anyone shares anything. But I'm not aware someone
Mm.
has done it. There is a guy I know of who, I don't know if he was diagnosed before or after. I'm not sure. So I'm going to claim it. I'll
Yeah,
take that as a
we'll
victory
let you claim
for
it.
us.
Excellent. Awesome. All right. And you're obviously you obviously like to challenge yourself. So obviously looking ahead, have you got anything on the horizon after this? Have you got any, or is it no, just sort of full focus on this for the minute?
I think once this is done, it's actually going to be very strange, because every weekend I've been going up somewhere to train, somewhere else to train. So I do need to plan something else. There is a thing called Paris 10, which is another military event in September, it's a 10-mile course, but it is meant to be brutal. It's where they put all the paratroopers when they're training them. So I might give that a go, but I'm not sure yet. I'm going to pick something because I know I'll get bored. After a couple of weeks, I'll be like, right, I need to go out and do something. And I think when you put this much effort in, it's almost like I'm thinking, I don't want to lose the capability. The
Mm.
thought of having to start again, I just don't think I could. So there'll be something. There'll be something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. Well, look, we wish you the best of luck. Keep us
Thank you.
posted how you get on. I'm sure you'll
Definitely.
smash it. Um, Make sure you get some pictures, because that'll be good. That'll be good to
Yeah.
see. And look, I think on that note, I think we'll open it up we'll open it up to the audience for some questions. So if
Awesome.
anyone's got any questions, please unmute yourself. If not, I'll read them from the chat. So has anyone got any questions? So while people are unmuted, while people collect their thoughts, let me read this question from Jemima. So Jemima's question is, with such a long training program, have you noticed much impact or changes needed from changes in the seasons? Great question.
Yeah, it's certainly in the summer, you lose a lot, you sweat a lot more ultimately. So you've really got to think about electrolytes and replenishing those. I think with on the diabetes side, I definitely think it has made me a bit more insulin sensitive around those long training days. As I say, I really have to watch that. Winter has been a challenge when it's been icy. I know there have been people that have done it. I think a couple of weeks ago it was icy up there, and that's quite dangerous. So this weekend forecast is 11 degrees and drizzle. So that's good for me. I'm quite happy with that.
So probably the only time drizzle will be quite pleasant, I imagine.
Yes, yes. It's Welsh weather. If we don't have drizzle, to me, it's not going to the fan. That's not what it's about.
Awesome. All right. Mandy, this is more just a comment from Mandy, but Mandy says that's my stomping ground too. Cardiff's not that far. It's beautiful up there. I wild camped. Oh yeah, I remember seeing a photo of you
Oh
last year.
wow.
Actually. Mandy wild camped there last year. we could do that.
Wow.
So I think Mandy's asking you to wild camp somewhere up in the mountains.
Oh, I'd be up for that because I've never. Apparently, the sunrise you get what they call it's called a cloud inversion. So you get the
Right.
top of the mountain poking out of the cloud. It's meant to be stunning. I've never
Hmm.
done that. So yeah, if the team one guys fancy a trip, I'll take you. We'll go.
Dragon's breath, they call it, don't they? Coming off the hill.
That's it.
Just
Yes, I'd love to
stunning.
do it. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
I have to say, we camped up there. We did not do the fan dance before we put our tents up.
I'd quite like to go next time, Mandy, on a more relaxed environment of just going
Yeah,
with some friends and,
yeah,
enjoying it and taking in the view. Normally,
yeah,
I'm dying at the top and just want to get down again.
yeah, amazing. So you go from the Story Arms. Do you from the
That's it.
part there up
Yep,
that
red
way?
phone box, the infamous red phone box, and then we go up what they call corn do. Well, I think it's corn D. Is it corn do? If I'm
On the
corn D, there you go.
on
Right
the
up to the
in a
top. There is
van.
a route that goes across, but I think because of the volume of people, they make us go to the top and then down Jacobs, Cribbin, Windy Gap,
Yeah, yeah,
halfway Roman Road, and then back. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, amazing. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's so busy.
Oh, I think the other weekend there was a pictures, there was something like 400 people had gone there for the sunrise, and in the dark they all got head torches on. So it looked like a giant snake going up to the top of the fan because it's such a popular location. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I hope
Yeah,
there's not many next
lots of other
Sunday.
routes around there. It's not all about Pen y Fan as well. I mean, it is on yours.
That's right.
But
Yes,
so much more as well if you want to avoid the crowds.
absolutely. I think there's other places that if you want to see the scenery, that probably isn't the best place to go actually, because it's so busy. And in the summer when I've been up there, it's heaving. I mean, they're queuing to get up to the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Bit
always
like,
laugh when you see these people arrive in the summer, they've got flip-flops on and they're going to the top of a mountain. I'm kind of like, my God, this is
yeah. I did go up there once many, many, many years ago. And the guy I was with at the time, he was ex-army, and he told an elderly Dutch couple at the bottom, don't worry, there's a cafe at the top.
oh no,
I know.
there's most definitely not. There's just a
How
lot of
neat
rocks.
is that? Yeah, I know.
I tell you, I tell you. I wish there was with a very strong gin. I'd have a gin and tonic at the top, I tell you.
Oh, well done. Anyway, it's amazing.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just pleased to share it with you guys and hopefully have some good news next week to share with you. Fingers
Oh, you
crossed.
Definitely.
will. You will. That
We'll agree with you.
bloody-mindedness of a type one.
Well, as I
Yeah.
said to my husband, if I have to crawl across the blooming finish line, I will finish. So we'll
Do
get
it.
there. We'll
Yeah.
get there.
Well done. Amazing.
Thank you.
Owen must be on the call, I'm sure, because he's even, he's very close, living in that area.
Oh, amazing.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is there any other? Go on, Henry. Henry, I can see Henry's got his hand up. So go on.
I was just intrigued about you talked about some of the changes that you make to kind of your in the morning kind of routine around on the day and stuff, but just kind of wider around the sort of training, whether or not you had seen any kind of overall impact to insulin sensitivity, amount of insulin that you've been having kind of in training, and as well kind of in the weighted versus non-weighted, some of the effects that you see there in terms of training.
Yeah, that's a really good question actually, because certainly on the longer days, so when I'm effectively replicating the full distance, I definitely have a lot more insulin sensitivity, so I really have to reduce it, and the following day even. I think with the weighted, because you are naturally going to be a bit slower, it is therefore a bit more steady state apart from the steep incline. So again, I've noticed that spike when I'm doing the steep inclines, and then as I start to come down and sort of level off for a few miles, then again your blood sugar start to settle down lower. So I did once, I got to halfway and my blood sugar was around 13, and I thought, oh, I might just have a unit, just see what happens. And literally 2 miles up the road going back, plummeted. So it does show how much more sensitive you are. But yeah, I think it's like everything, everyone's different. But I think for me, certainly it's on those longer days, that's where it gets quite challenging. But then having said that, when I do these heart rate zone training sessions at home, and then that's the other way. They're an hour, they're short and they're intense, and then you tend to spike. So it's the joy of diabetes, isn't it? There's always an added extra to it.
But just kind of generally around, if you look at kind of how much insulin you're taking at the moment, for example, and then rewind to a period in time when you're not building up to an event like this, have you noticed kind of an overall impact, or is it just around those kind of training days?
It's not been much different, probably a unit or two, I would say. So, before my meals, 1 or 2 units less, not a massive difference. I thought it would be more. I was surprised at that. But again, everyone's body is different. So someone else could do the same event and find they need to cut back a lot more. But for me, yeah, 1 or 2 units, that seems to be the main difference. Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting. Just the only reason I was asking is kind of in weeks when I'm riding or doing exercise kind of 3, 4, 5 times in a week, I might notice that my overall insulin kind of sensitivity across the week is about kind of 100 and 150%, so another 50% more sensitive, or taking 2/3 as much insulin, whichever way you want to look at that.
Yep.
Kind of overall in those periods versus times when I'm maybe having a few weeks off or things.
Yeah, I guess maybe because I'm doing those heart rate zone bits in between, maybe it's almost balancing it out a bit. Potentially, that's all I can think, is that I'm doing that long distance of the week, and in the middle of the week I'm doing either my weights or the higher intensity. Maybe it almost then doesn't have such a big knock-on effect. But yeah, I think certainly I'll have to watch it over the next couple of weeks. We'll have a bit of a rest. I think then I'll see a big difference in terms of the sensitivity.
Yes, it swing the other way. And,
yeah. I think I'll be going high on. I'll be thinking, I don't normally eat this and it's fine, and now it's just ping. So I'll have to keep an eye on that for sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to look at the kind of the shape of those graphs as well. It's kind of going, are those spikes quicker as well and things like that?
Yes, I think it will be very interesting to see the difference. So I might have to do like a bit of a during the fan training and after with my curves on my Libre.
Yeah, eat a few Mars bars during the training and then after the training, and let's have a look at the impact.
Look at the difference, exactly. Yeah, the thought of having a Mars bar for lunch, normally I'd just be like, no, that would be a disaster. But this is the one time when, and it's funny because people are like, are you sure you're diabetic? Because I didn't think, the usual, I didn't think you could eat chocolate. Trust me, when I'm doing this, I can eat chocolate. I'm fine.
And then, so kind of leading on from that, then my next point was going to be about how much attention and focus do you obviously talked about kind of what the nutrition strategy will be on the day in terms of the oats and kind of things like that, and on your big long train days, but how much focus are you paying to kind of numbers, metrics? Are you bothered by any of that sort of stuff? Are you kind of trying to go, right, if I burnt 5,000 calories on that long walk, are you paying attention to that at all or not?
Probably not as much as I should. I will admit that. I'm trying to eat, what I call good carbs and plenty of protein, because obviously there's lots of muscle damage at the moment. But I'm probably not as sort of definitive about it as I perhaps should be. I mean, certainly over the next couple of days there'll be a bit of carb loading to a certain extent, but then I think sometimes the only challenge I would say is because I'm already carrying the additional weight on my shoulders, I don't necessarily want too much water weight as well, because the feet get absolutely trashed. So, and actually that's an interesting one as a diabetic. I always remember the guy I'm training with, he does this all the time, these kind of events. And he always said to me, oh, your feet will be terrible. And when I actually showed him what my feet were like, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't got. And I said, well, as a diabetic, we have to look after them. So I use like the zinc oxide tape to stop blisters, double layer socks, Vaseline on the toes. I've tried everything.
As preventative rather than
preventative. Exactly. Because the trouble is, obviously, once you get one and you're out there and you've got that long slog, you don't want to be having that kind of putting you off. So the biggest trouble I have is the ball of the foot. I find that gets quite sore, but I guess that's because of the extra weight,
When you say sore, are you meaning kind of like in a bruised sort of painful sort of way, or is it like cracking of the skin, or
like a burning sensation almost? It's obviously the friction, and I think I've got a quite high instep, so I'm almost double whammy that it's my foot is naturally shaped so that the ball of the foot kind of hits first. And I did read a book once that I'm sure it said when you're diagnosed young, your bones in your feet don't form quite the way they should, and I've got very sort of like curled over toes. And whether that's a load of rubbish or not, I don't know. But I do wonder if, because of the shape of my toes, that the ball of the foot for me gets absolutely, trashed when I'm doing these things. Yet when I do normal running, I don't have a problem with it. So I have put it down to the additional weight and the additional force going through the foot. But I don't know.
And this is a really random one, which is sort of related, but in terms of shoes and shoe selection, what does that look like?
So unfortunately, I've got these they're military boots, because they do protect your ankles and protect you against all the rocky ground. So I've got the Altbergs, which I think most of the military guys have. I tried trainers, but I just felt with the ankles, I was constantly going over. And these give you the support around the ankle. I have got gel insoles I've put inside to give me a bit of support, and that has made a difference. But yeah, I do wish I could have my trainers on. It'd be so much nicer. But the times I've gone over my ankle, I think, yeah, I'd rather keep my ankles than, have a bit of foot pain on the way.
Amazing. Thank you.
No problem.
Right. I think there's a bit of a queue, but Jemima, you've got your hand up.
Yes, really great to hear about your training and your diet and how you're doing this. I've watched so many YouTube videos of people kind of dry running the fan dance, and it looks really fun, but super hard. So yes. Good luck. But I just had some questions about the kind of weight training you mentioned you're doing. Just wondered if that's more legs or just what it is that you've been working on.
Yeah, so I think it's really good when you're doing any endurance event to have some of that weight building and sort of, muscle building work, because we tend to focus so much on the distance and the sort of the long slogs. But so what I've been doing is it tends to be full body. So I'll do some upper body work and then some leg work. I don't want to overload the legs too much. So I tend to start with some squats and then some deadlifts. Then I tend to do some upper body, and then I usually finish with single leg lunges, because obviously on the uneven ground you want to have good stability, so it just helps to really help sort of strengthen those muscles and those tendons to kind of keep your stability when you're running along. So I tend to do that as well. But yeah, it's full body, bit of everything really, because the shoulders do get a lot of pain as well carrying the thing. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I hadn't considered the shoulders actually, but I guess they're bearing the brunt of the Bergen on the top, aren't they?
Yeah. And the thing is, they're actually. I've learned so much. I mean, I've been training with some great guys that are all ex-military, and they've really helped because they give you their kind of personal experience, and they've all said keep the weight higher up. Don't put it at the bottom of your Bergen. Actually, keep the weight at the top, because apparently it puts less stress on your lower back. So then you're taking the stress to your shoulders and the top of your neck rather than your lower back. And I've never had lower back pain at all. My shoulders ache, but that's going to happen, right? But it's definitely made a difference. And I actually got fitted for the Bergen because it has padding on the back and is kind of shaped to me. So again, it means the weight's all evenly distributed, which does, all these little things help. And on the day, you're not allowed to take what they call dead weight. So a lot of people, when they train, they'll stick a dumbbell in their bag or, some rocks or something, but they do not allow you to partake if you've got dead weight. It has to be actually useful stuff. So I've got sleeping bag, bivy bag, spare food, change of clothes, and then I tend to fill up with water and have like additional bottles, which they say, not that it would happen because they've got so many safety protocols, but as Mandy will know, you go up on a mountain, God forbid, you can't always rely on mountain rescue to come and get you. So the idea would be that you could effectively stay overnight until you can get rescued. So we have all what we call useful stuff in our Bergens.
Can you drink that water, I assume? Or no?
Yes, so I've got like bottled water. What they say is if you're using it as to make up the weight, you have to put like tape on it to show you're not, because you can't ditch it, because otherwise
you could fill it all up and then drink it.
Exactly. So what they do, they weigh, not everyone, but they weigh most of the competitors at the start, and then they check you when you come back. So if you have been cheeky and ditched all your water somewhere, then they'll be like, well, you're underweight, you're not carrying the weight.
You're only cheating yourself anyway, aren't you? So
well, you're there to do it for that reason. So it's like, no, it's fine. Obviously you lose a bit because you are drinking your water. You've got 2 to 3 liters to drink, but yeah, at the start you're fully fully loaded. Yeah.
Awesome. Any more questions?
And I've got a really, really quick one.
Oh,
What
Mandy.
you said you were taking gels, Vicky. Which ones do you use? Which ones can you tolerate?
Well, I use the High Five energy gels,
Okay.
and I really like them because they've got like berry flavors, there's citrus, and they've got electrolytes in. Because I know one of the first times I ever attempted it, I got horrific cramp coming back because I just hadn't planned for it. So I have those, and they for me work well. There are also I can't think what it's called. It's not like mountain fuel or something. I've tried those, but I actually find them they're a bit, for me, the High Five ones are quite easy to swallow. They're quite liquid, but the mountain fuel ones, although I think they're probably better for you because they're more natural ingredients, I found them a bit, I was getting stuck with them. So, you know, when I first did it, I used to get oat bars, like oat flapjacks, and cut them up into 3 and wrap them in foil. But when you're when you're running and trying to eat those, I just used to choke on them. So I was like, yeah, they're going. So that's why I use the gels. But again, it's trial and error. It's taken me 12 months to find out what actually works, and I can tolerate it and not be sick, and you know, all the rest of it. Yeah.
That's exactly why I was asking. Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend them for me. By all means, you know, give them a go. But yeah, Amazon, great place for those.
I tell you, I know what you need,
After-
Vicky. You need an OTE super gel. That's just got your name all over it.
There you go.
You beat me to it.
Super gold.
That's what I
was
need.
thinking of Richie, when I was asking,
Yeah.
like, come on, let's get that in there.
I need to try them. I'm going to
Yeah.
try them.
Mate, they
Definitely.
are genuinely they're the best gel I've ever had, and that I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor of ours, but they are the most tastiest ones. They're a gel that I actually would give myself a hypo to have, which is a bit sad.
I've got
Send
them
me
as
a
my
link.
hypo treatment now. Genuinely,
Send me a link.
we'll send you a box, Vicky. Send your address over to Andrew, and we'll send you a box.
Oh,
of them.
bless you. That's really sweet. Thank you so much, guys. Well, I'll try them because, as I say, these are what I've been using, but they're probably not the best. So I'll give them a go. 100%. Thank you.
No worries. Excellent. Look, I've really enjoyed that call, Vicky. Very different, I would say. But equally, I've really enjoyed it. And like I say, we wish you the best of luck from all of us here at Team Type 1 Style.
Thank you.
Please let us know how you get on.
course I
I'm
will.
sure you'll absolutely smash it. So, and yeah, we'll look forward to seeing the photos of you completing it. And yeah, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
done.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Vicky.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.